Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining us today for another episode here at NN Financial Services. My name is Dolos Linda. I am a representative of NN Financial Services, which is an authorized financial service provider registered with the Financial Service Conduct Authority. Today's episode, we are going to be talking about waiting periods. So, what is a waiting period? A waiting period basically is the time whereby from the commencement of your policy, during the waiting period duration, you will not be able to utilize any benefits. So an example of a waiting period, the most common one is a 3 months general waiting period. Let's say your policy commenced on the 1st of January. Then it means that from the 1st of January, you will be liable to pay your premiums in full. However, you will only be able to utilize your benefits from the second day of April, because that's where your waiting period is from the 1st of January till the 1st of April. So during that time, you will not be able to utilize any benefits at all. However, also I need to mention that if you do get a 3 months general waiting period with PMB, remember that is prescribed minimum benefits. That means that you will not be able to utilize your day-to-day benefits on your primary health care during that time up until the 2nd of April. However, though anything related to prescribed minimum benefits, which has been set out by the council, we are talking things like your chronic medication or maybe accidents, maybe let's say a heart attack, asthma attack, a motor vehicle accident, a member falls, break their legs, arm, limb, any form of limb basically, then they will be covered because that will fall under APMB. So usually if you've got a comprehensive option, let's say a medical aid that has day-to-day as well as hospital cover and a chronic, during the 3 months general waiting period, you will be able to utilize your benefits for things like hospitalization for PMB purposes. So we are talking like maybe a motor vehicle accident, a member falls, break their legs, their arm, maybe requiring your chronic medication that you can get from the 1st of January in our example. However, though things like to go see a GP, get medication, optometry, basic dentistry, things like that, you won't be able to utilize those benefits, including operations in hospital, whereby you would require a authorization in order to get hospitalization. During a 3 months general waiting period, unfortunately, that will not be covered. Why would a product supplier want to impose a 3 months general waiting period? So the most common example I love using is pregnancy. If a member joins the scheme and a female is already pregnant and they take up a medical aid option, then it means that if they are covered from day one and there is no waiting period, then it means that the scheme will be liable to pay at the time of claiming, including going to see a gynae, which is under the maternity benefits outside of hospital. So that member hasn't really contributed much towards the fund of the scheme, which means that if the scheme now were to accept members consistently who are pregnant, like females who are pregnant, and then they take up the medical aid, and then after 9 months or after the duration of the pregnancy, they give birth, and then they cancel the medical aid, then the medical aid fund will not be able to sustain itself and at some point will have to close. Another reason would be the fact that it's always trying to check whether there is any possibilities of claims that might come through within that 3 months. So they always want members to pour into the fund, but also just to try and navigate to see if there's any possibilities of any claims that might arise, any conditions during that time as well. However, while we're still on the pregnancy issue, let's say that now a member is diagnosed with a condition during the 3 months waiting period, and then from the 2nd of April, then they go see a doctor. Of course, obviously now they're liable to get their to access to their benefits. Now they go see a general practitioner, and then they find that now they are diagnosed with maybe a chronic condition, let's say a hypertension. Then that will be covered as long as obviously they can prove that that diagnosis was actually covered after the member had joined and not before. So the scheme does have a right actually to be in touch with your general practitioner to access that information. Even though there's a doctor-patient confidentiality, but the GP is still liable to actually produce all sufficient information to the scheme if the scheme were to request it. Same rule applies for pregnancies as well. If a lady were to fall pregnant after they joined the scheme and they were still within the 3 months general waiting period, then the scheme will actually request maybe for the lady to go have a sonar so that they can check basically the length or the time of how far off she is during the pregnancy. Then the scheme will review it. If they find that the member fell pregnant while they were already on a medical aid, the scheme will cover the pregnancy. However, if they find that the lady was pregnant prior to joining the medical aid, then the scheme has a right to impose what we call a condition-specific waiting period, which is my next point. So what is a condition-specific waiting period? If a member joins the scheme and they already have a pre-existing condition, whether it's a chronic condition, whether the member is pregnant or anything along those lines, the scheme does impose the right to impose a 12 months waiting period. This is a 12-month condition-specific waiting period over and above a 3 months general waiting period. That means that when you apply to the scheme, let's continue with the example of a lady being pregnant and you also have hypertension. Then it means the scheme can impose a waiting period on hypertension as well as the pregnancy and a 3 months general waiting period. That means that they will not cover anything related to the pregnancy. Your member will not get any maternity benefits, and they will also not pay for anything related to the condition-specific waiting period, which is the hypertension. So if the member, maybe let's say after 6 months, has a heart attack, God forbid, and then the reason for the heart attack is related to the hypertension, then the scheme will not pay for the hospital bill or the authorization for the member to be admitted due to the heart attack, because it's linked to the condition-specific waiting period, which is the high blood pressure. When it comes to pregnancy, no maternity benefits will be granted. Even the birth of the baby will not be covered by the scheme. Even if the member were to pay for the hospital in cash, they will not cover the baby because now even the birth process was related to the pregnancy. However, though, once the baby is born, the scheme then can accept the registration of the baby if there is no complications. If there are any complications, let's say maybe during the birth process, they find that there was a complication with the baby, then the scheme does have the right to impose a 12-month condition-specific waiting period on the reason why the baby would need to be hospitalized. So with that being said, it's very important that you're always on a medical aid before you fall pregnant. So in a nutshell, that is actually a waiting period when it comes to your primary health care. So remember that vision gives birth to purpose, which is fueled by passion. My name is Dr. Linda. I leave you with peace and good health.